On the tiny islands of Vanuatu in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, every spring men of the local people still perform an incredibly dangerous ritual that sends shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned travelers. Its name literally translates as tower jumping. For the villagers, it is a true test of maturity, where the price of a mistake is your life. Hundreds of people gather around a tower made of wood and vines reaching up to 80 feet high. By local standards, the higher you jump from, the more respect you earn. At the very top stand young boys, some not even 12 years old. Their legs are wrapped with vines which are supposed to catch them at the last moment. Before the jump, the boys say goodbye to their mothers, since not everyone has survived the fall. The ritual is accompanied by wild screams, loud songs, and ceremonial dances, and each jump marks a new stage in the family's life. The roots of this ritual go back to ancient times. Legend has it that the first woman jumped from the tower to escape her husband's wrath. Over time, this act turned into a rite of passage for young men, and every spring, men and boys climb the tower once again. Many jumpers choose a height of over 60 feet to demonstrate their fearlessness. The vines are measured by hand. If they turn out to be too long or too short, the outcome can be fatal. The audience holds its breath as the person hurtles downward and sometimes even hits the ground face first. Scars and wounds from the jumps are considered symbols of strength and valor. Despite the danger, young men are required to cast off their fear in order to gain recognition within the tribe. The custom is so unusual that there have been real debates about whether it should be banned, but the locals consider it their sacred duty. Meanwhile, somewhere in the valley at dawn, a new fire is being lit as the coming night promises an even more mysterious ritual, one that few outsiders have ever witnessed. Secret nighttime ceremonies in Tibet. When night falls over the highland villages of Tibet, preparations begin for an unusual festival that people prefer not to speak of aloud. Local monks and elders gather families around the fires to perform a secret ritual, a feast in honor of the shadows of their ancestors. Unlike ordinary memorial traditions, here everything takes place only after sunset. Outsiders are not allowed in, and even young villagers are only permitted to attend the ritual for the first time after receiving special permission. The ceremony begins with women dressed in dark clothing lighting special lamps made from yak butter. The light from these lamps flickers in the night, casting strange silhouettes on the walls of the houses. Bread, meat, dried cheese, and mugs of milk tea are laid out on the ground. It is believed that the ancestors are drawn by the aroma of the offerings to share the meal with their descendants. At this time, the men gather in a separate room and cook a special soup made from 7 ingredients, each meant to evoke memories of past generations. As soon as the last strip of daylight disappears behind the mountains, the eldest monk begins to recite ancient texts in a language that almost no one understands anymore. At this moment, speaking is forbidden in the house, even the children must remain silent. Then, figurines of the ancestors made from dough and fabric are brought into the room. They are placed in the center of the table and one by one dripped with drops of oil to appease the spirits and protect the family from misfortune for the entire year. The feast lasts for several hours. No one drinks or eats until the elder gives the signal. The first pieces of bread and meat are always thrown out an open window to treat those who could not come because of the long journey to the other world. Only after this is it allowed for everyone else to start eating. At the end of the night, the leftover food is taken outside the village and left at an abandoned temple for the hungry ghosts. The locals believe that if anyone breaks the sequence of actions, the whole village will be struck by illness and misfortune. All the details of the ritual are carefully kept secret. Even the name of the festival is forbidden to be spoken outside the family. Some European travelers tried to sneak into the nighttime feast, but local boys quickly escorted them out. The ritual has its roots in ancient shamanic practices and, despite the passage of time, has survived almost unchanged. And in the very place where ghosts once hid in the night, preparations are already underway for a completely different yet equally frightening tradition: the ancestors' teeth on hair, the eerie amulets of Tuvalu. On the remote atolls of Tuvalu, lost amid the blue expanse of the Pacific Ocean, each generation preserves a strange and rather creepy family heirloom, a talisman made from the teeth of ancestors, woven into hair. The basis of these amulets is real human teeth, which are taken from deceased relatives immediately after the funeral. The ritual is led by the eldest man in the family. He carefully pulls out the teeth from the deceased, sometimes even cutting the hair beforehand so that the future amulet will be unique. The extracted bones are thoroughly washed with seawater, then rubbed with coconut oil and afterwards dried in the sun. In the evening, when long shadows fall over the island, the women of the tribe gather in a circle. Among them, there is always one who is about to undergo the trial. Her hair is braided into intricate plaits, and the teeth of the deceased are discreetly woven into the strands. It is believed that in this way, the spirits of the ancestors will protect the girl, and she herself will gain the strength and endurance of her relatives. Each amulet is unique, as a single braid may contain the teeth of a grandmother, an uncle, a great-great-grandfather, sometimes up to 4 generations at once. Not everyone is allowed to wear such ornaments. For example, if someone in the family was exiled or committed a terrible crime, their teeth are never woven into the hair. On the other hand, a baby's tooth is considered the strongest protection against evil spirits and misfortune. Sometimes amulets are passed down as heirlooms, but more often they are renewed with every major family event, such as the birth of a child, a wedding, or the construction of a new house. During holidays, women with amulets gather on the beach by the fire. There, they perform a special dance, and each braid adorned with teeth glimmers in the firelight and jingles as the women move. Today, the tradition is becoming increasingly rare, but in some villages, elders still keep small pouches of teeth for special family occasions. And as the last sparks fade into the night on another continent, glowing coals are already being scattered, where faith is tested not by kinship, but by the strength of spirit and body. Firewalking in Bulgaria is a test of faith in the body. When spring arrives on Bulgarian soil and the long nights are still cold, dozens of bonfires are lit in one of the mountain villages. Here, at the foot of a small temple, an entire community gathers to perform one of the most unusual and dangerous rituals in Europe, firewalking. The locals call it nestinarstvo. It all begins with the men scattering dry oak logs on the ground and lighting a fire. Within minutes, all that remains of the wood are glowing embers, and the air fills with the scent of burning forest. While the embers smolder, women and men dressed in traditional white shirts gather in a circle around the fire. The ritual takes place to the rhythms of drums and the piercing sound of the Bulgarian bagpipe. From the crowd, the chosen ones step forward. They are called nestinari. They neither eat nor drink for a day before the ceremony, and on the eve, they spend the whole night praying before icons of local saints. Right before the walk, their bare feet are rubbed with rose oil. It is believed that this prevents the skin from cracking from the heat. When the time comes, the nestinari step onto the hot embers. Beneath their feet, nearly 12 feet of glowing red embers crackle and smoke, with surface temperatures reaching over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. They do not walk quickly, but rather as if in a dance, sometimes stopping and making sharp turns. The nestinari's eyes are half closed, as if they see nothing but their faith. The spectators remain silent. Any word could break the magic of the moment. After making a circuit over the coals, the participants step out, and their feet are inspected by the elders. If there are any burns, they are immediately treated with a mixture of honey and herbs, but often the skin remains completely unscathed. Locals are convinced that during the nestinarstvo ritual a person is protected by a higher power. The ritual itself lasts about 10 minutes, but the intensity, the music, and the tension linger long after it ends. When the last nestinar leaves the burning coals, the feast and celebration begin. People believe that this trial will protect their village from disasters and diseases for an entire year ahead. Meanwhile, in a completely different corner of the planet, an even harsher tradition awaits, where in the past, human life was often sacrificed out of respect and fear. Headhunting, the forgotten traditions of the Iban tribe in the jungles of Borneo, where the humid air mingles with the smoke of campfires. For centuries, the Iban tribe was renowned for its gruesome and merciless custom, headhunting. As recently as the mid-19th century, English colonizers spoke of entire villages where human skulls hung from long poles by the houses, trophies that the men took pride in. For the Iban, headhunting was not just warfare but the main rite of initiation, a passage from adolescence to becoming an adult warrior. Young men would set out into the jungle as part of special squads armed with long spears, machetes, and heavy wooden shields. Before the expedition, the elders held a complex ceremony. They would fumigate the weapons with the smoke of forest herbs, and then each warrior had to spend the night in complete silence. It was believed that only in this way would the spirits of the forest be favorable and bring good fortune. At dawn, when the paths disappeared into the mist, the men would vanish from the village, sometimes for several days. Their goal was to catch the enemy off guard, achieve a swift victory, and bring home the head of their rival. The hunter's return was always a loud celebration. The whole village would gather by the river. The men carried severed heads covered in thick hair on sharp spears. The women lit fires and brought sacrificial offerings, bananas, chicken eggs, and rice cakes. After special treatment, the skulls were hung on the beams of the house, between which special hammocks made of bark were constructed. Here, according to Iban beliefs, the spirits of the slain became guardians of the family hearth and helped ensure a good harvest. Sometimes the trophies were also used in rain rituals. It was believed that if a fresh head was offered, a thunderstorm would come sooner. For the youth, the main trial was to obtain at least one skull on their own. Only after that was a young man initiated as a true adult and allowed to marry. Even today, at major festivals, one can sometimes see elders wearing necklaces made of miniature wooden heads, a reminder that, for the Iban, the respect of the tribe once cost someone else's life. But even the darkest rituals are sometimes replaced by completely unexpected traditions that, on the contrary, offer a chance for a happy future where hope once seemed lost. A bizarre twist of fate in India. In the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh, when a girl's fate seems forever ruined, families resort to a ritual that makes even the locals' hair stand on end. Here, people believe that if a special pattern appears on the bride's palm or her horoscope foretells misfortune for her future husband, only a wedding with a tree can save her. The family secretly selects an old tree with thick roots, decorates its trunk with flower garlands, and places clay lamps nearby. The girl dressed in a wedding sari goes through all the stages of a real ceremony. Henna patterns are drawn on her, she is adorned with jewelry, and she holds a real bouquet in her hands. The ritual is performed by a Brahmin invited from a neighboring village. He recites sacred texts, walks around the tree with the girl 7 times, and the parents throw rice and sweets at the roots. At a certain moment, a red thread symbolizing the union of 2 destinies is tied around the tree. After all the rituals, the guests clap loudly and the parents treat everyone to local flatbreads and sweets. It is believed that on this day, the spirit of the tree will absorb all negative energy, ward off misfortune from the bride, and open the path to happiness for her. A few days after the ceremony, the tree is cut down and buried far from the house. Only after this is the girl considered free. Now she can marry someone without fearing misfortune. Some families perform the marriage with a banana trunk or a tulsi bush if there is no suitable tree nearby. Sometimes a similar ritual is performed for boys with an ill-fated destiny. This tradition can still be found today in rural areas of India, despite protests and government bans. Relatives will do anything to lift the curse because their daughter's happiness is the most important thing to them. And while festive lights twinkle at the foot of the sacred tree, in another part of Africa, women gather in dark rooms to perform a ritual that holds a lifetime of emotions and tears. The Weeping Women, a tradition of mourning the living in Chad, right in the heart of the Sahel. Amid the dusty streets of Chad, every spring begins with an unusual ritual that many consider one of the most mysterious in Africa. As dusk falls, women of all ages gather in a small house. They put on old, long dresses in advance and tie their heads with striped scarves. The atmosphere is tense because today they are to mourn not the dead, but the living, their own husbands, brothers, or even sons. A rough rug is spread out in the center of the room, and the participants of the ritual sit down on it, forming a tight circle. The villagers and elders believe that this ritual is necessary to protect the family from misfortune and to bring good luck into the home. The women begin to weep loudly, but they do so according to special rules. Each one must say the name of her loved one as if bidding him farewell forever. Some moan and beat their chests, others cover their faces with their hands, while the eldest women lead an almost song-like chant, rhythmic and drawn out, reminiscent of ancient laments. The entire ceremony is accompanied by special drums and rattles made of reeds, whose loud echoes carry the voices beyond the house. Nearby, men are on duty the whole time. They are not allowed to enter the room, but they listen to the weeping. The weeping can go on for hours. Sometimes the women lose their voices and collapse to the floor from exhaustion. After the ritual, they always wash their faces with cow's milk or pour a special infusion of local herbs over their hair. The most remarkable thing is that after the ceremony, the men are greeted as if they have returned from a long war. The women offer water, wash the feet of their brothers and husbands, and hang new talismans made of colorful fabrics around the house. Representatives of other cultures have tried many times to ban this ritual, but families in Chad still gather for the nighttime mourning of the living, believing that no storm or illness can harm those who have been protected by tears and loud lamentations. Among all the world's unusual traditions, it is rituals like these that remind us the most powerful ceremonies are often hidden from outsiders and continue to live on as long as the voices and memories of loved ones endure. The most powerful rituals are often hidden from outsiders and continue to live on as long as the voices and memories of loved ones endure.